Hi, this is Tim Green from LIDP Consulting, and today I'm going to be showing you a live demonstration of the titanium notebook navigation. The setup for today's demonstration is our UI is interface. We have a listener that connects to. We have a JBoss application server that is running that titanium is installed upon. And then the database that we're using for the demonstration today is Postgres. And to continue on now with the live demonstration. So I've already signed into Titanium, and right now I'll show you a little bit of navigation from our main window before we get to the notebooks. You can get to everything in Titanium from the menu bar. So if we click on this menu button, then that will bring up a bunch of different options for contract, client, agent, plan file, which all of our processing rules and product rules fall under. So for contract, I can go to inquiry transactions for values. There's a whole bunch of inquiry transactions that you can access directly from that menu. For the client, same thing. If we go to transactions, there's inquiry transactions and maintenance transactions that you can access directly. And then the same thing for the agent. There's inquiry transactions. There's process transactions for maintaining things. And then there's also other technical type screens on the agent that show you things that are actually on that agent itself. You can also, instead of typing in or going to the menu, you can type in a 4-character transaction code into the transaction box. So if you wanted to go to the policy notebook, you could type in the transaction for that, which is POLR, and then you can go ahead and enter in a contract number, and if you submitted that, it would pull up the notebook window. I'm going to go and show you a little bit different way to get to that policy. So we're going to go up to menu and contract and retrieve. And what that's going to do is it pulls up a contract search and retrieve box. And I'm going to go ahead and search by an agent name. I'll submit that, and then you can see that we have a list of the agents and their contract numbers. And you can select whichever contract you want to from this list. There's a few different places you can get to from this window. One of them is POLR, which is the policy notebook. You can also do inquiries on policy reinstatements, and you can get directly to our process death claim screen from this window also. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this as POLR, the policy notebook. I can double click on the entry, and it'll go ahead and pull up that policy in our policy notebook. Now in this policy notebook, you can see we're on the summary tab, and the summary tab, all the information here contains a summary of all of these other tabs that are on this contract. If I scroll down, you can see that we have coverage information, we have agent information. From this agent information, you can click this button. It'll show you the agent hierarchy, and on this we just have the writing agent and the office level agent for this contract. If I scroll back up, we can see we have the clients. So if I move on to the client tab, then you can see the format of this is we have a client list. So if there was multiple clients on this contract, we would have multiple clients listed in this window. So I can either click on the tab up here, I can double click on the entry I've highlighted, or I can click on the details button to get to the client that I want to look at more in detail. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on that entry, and so that's going to pull me up to all the information for this client. So we have their name information, birth date, birthplace, social security number, the client number that they're used on the system with, the relationship codes to this policy. Right now we have them as an insured owner and payer. And then if I scroll down through this list, you can see that we have many other options for how you can put a client to be related to a policy. If I move down in this window a little further, we have our address information. So right now we have one situation coded for the billing on this contract. And then also if we wanted to, there's additional features available for this client. So I could go ahead and add a new demographics feature. So I could add demographics specifically for this client that would be saved to that client that would be related to this policy. Moving on to the coverage tab, same type of setup for this is that we have our detail of what's on this contract. So right now the current coverage is if there is more than one coverage, they would be listed, and then we have the tabs. If I wanted to go ahead and add another coverage, we have a 5-year term rider that we can add to this. So if I go ahead and double click on that, you can see that it's now added a new coverage tab to the policy. I could enter all the information here that's needed for it. If I go back to the coverage list, you can now see that we have 2 coverages on this policy. If I go to the benefits tab, same type of format. You have your list of what's on the contract and then each tab for what's in that list. Right now we just have one accidental death benefit on this contract for the base coverage, but you can see over here that we have options where we can add additional benefits for the base coverage, or we can go ahead and add benefits for the rider that we just added on the coverage tab. If I come back to the coverage tab and select this one and delete it, which is the one that I added, and go back to the benefits, you can now see that it's dynamically removed that additional plan that we deleted from our policy. And you can also see as I deleted it, it's no longer included in the list of coverages on the policy. Information on the coverage tab entails basically number of units, premiums, insurance costs, issue dates, issue age, the coverage status of if it's active, if it's in force, options, non-forfeiture options, dividends, pay up and mature dates. We can add features to specifically for each coverage on the policy. Benefits tab is essentially the same type of thing. You have your benefit, you have your pay up and mature dates, and you can also add features directly for that benefit. Agents tab, we have our commission groups. I'll access this one by clicking on the tab. So we can see that we have one agent on this policy who's the writing agent. If we had multiple agents, they would be listed in this agents box. And as I clicked on each one, they could have a different relationship. And so this relationship box would dynamically change based on what their relationship is to the policy as I selected each agent in this window. The contract elements on this tab, it shows which contract elements this agent is getting paid commissions upon. And then same thing for the agent is we also have additional features that we can add to that agent to specifically change processing for this policy for that agent. Billing tab. This is where we enter our billing form and our billing mode. So this one's set up to be direct pay. You can see that we have many different options for the type of billing that we can do. As I said, this is direct pay. We also would have options for doing EFT. If we had set up this policy for EFT, then we would have to go ahead and enter in additional information for the bank or credit card that the premium was being paid with. And so the routing numbers, the account numbers, those can all be masked within the system, so only personnel that should be able to see those can see those numbers. And then also, if you were to set up a special frequency billing mode on this policy, we have additional information that you would need to enter for that. Same thing with the billing. We have features that you can add that are specific to billing for the policy. Moving on to the requirements tab, this is where underwriter information is contained on this policy. This information can be added ad hoc to the policies. It can be added by an underwriter assistant, which has information coded on it within the processing rules and the product rules on titanium. And that enables you to search for things on applications such as height and weight, certain medical conditions. You can set up different scores for each one, and it will automatically either add requirements to it, or it can also be set up so it can jet issue a policy or just put a policy out there and submit status with underwriter requirements that has automatically added. And then the other thing that it can do is you can, specifically for a plan, automatically have product rules coded that always say no matter what, this product is going to have this underwriting requirement on it. So the underwriting requirement that is on this policy was coded specifically for this product. So any contract that is submitted to the system would automatically have this MIB requirement on it. The control tab on the policy notebook, we just go ahead and it's the same type of thing as the other screens, except this one contains a lot of control information. It's information that's for control of the policy and how the policy ages and different types of when the next processing is supposed to take, like this automatic extract date. The system has background processing that it knows on January 16, 2015 that it needs to go ahead and automatically process this policy for billing only. So on the 16th of January, somebody doesn't actually have to go out there and process anything on this policy. When the company is opened up for that day, the system will automatically find this policy and say, I have work to do on it. And then other dates that we have on it, it just tells us when the policy is processed through, actual add and change of the policy, department desk of who made the change to the policy. So that basically concludes the notebook navigation for the policy. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that, and we'll come back to the Gem main window. From this window, now I'm going to show you the client notebook. So I'm going to go back up to the menu. I'm going to go to Client. I'm going to go to Retrieve. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this, where I'm going to go ahead and search for a client. I'm going to search by their last name. Submit that. And so it's going to go ahead and say, okay, my client is Tom Barn, who I was looking for. Shows me some more information for that client. If I go ahead and double click on that client, then it's going to go ahead and pull up the information. So you can see this is going to be the same type of format that the policy notebook was. We have our name tab and the situation tab. Name information, similar to the policy notebook. It's going to be our last name, first name, birth date, social security number, sex code, marital status. Shows us our existing situations. So if we add another situation to this contract or to this client, it's going to go ahead and show up in the existing situations. You also have features available on this that would be directly for that client. Go ahead and go to the situation. So on this situation, we have an address, billing information, and miscellaneous. Every situation you have is going to automatically have miscellaneous information on it, and then you can choose whether or not you want to have address and billing on there. So if I go to the address tab, we can see that this was the address that was on the contract that we had looked at through the policy notebook. It's our billing with situation code 1, our street, city, state, zip code, phone number, billing information. The billing information from that policy is actually stored on the client file. It's not stored on the policy, but we pull that information in. So when we add that client to a policy through that notebook, it'll automatically generate the same information on the client. So we have our billing form of direct pay and our billing mode of annual. Miscellaneous, you can add a lot of different features to this client from this tab. Same demographics information. If I do new, then you see that this window that pops up is very similar to the one that we saw from the policy notebook, where you could enter demographics information for this client. If I go back to the situations and I go ahead and to the name screen, do new from here, so you can see that I have a new situation 02. I'm going to add some new address information. So I add the address. I'm going to go ahead and change this address type to be their home address. Go ahead and enter in the new address information. And submit that. And so now we have a situation 1 and situation 2. If I go back to the name tab, you can now see that we have the two existing situations. Our original situation, if I pull that one up, our address on that is our billing situation 01 with the original address. And if I go to situation 02 and I go to the address on that, you can see that's the address that I just added for their home address, which is a different situation code with the address that I entered for that situation code. And what that enables you to do is you can have multiple situations for a client. Maybe they have some sort of different type of situation with different policies that they own, where maybe they're a business owner and some of their policies they want to have billed to for their business, and maybe they have some personal policies with you and they want those to be billed for at home. You can easily select which situation you want from the client and process against policies based on those situations. So that's it for the client notebook. And going on to the agent notebook, I'll access that the same way. I'll go Menu, Agent, and Retrieve. I'm going to go ahead and do a search for the agent by the last name of the agent. And Larry Agent is the one we want, so I'll double click on that. And that's going to go ahead and bring up our agent notebook. So once again, same format as the other two. You have Summary tab, Agent, Financial Information, License, and Control. And then you can see on the summary that you have an agent area, a license area, hierarchy. Same thing as with the license area, kind of with like on the contract. If I had multiple license states listed here and they were licensed for different product types in each state, as I went ahead and selected each license entry, you might see the product type change on this side for each individual entry that I've selected. So the agent's information basically looks like the client information. So name information, sex code, marital status, their client number, social security number, status. You have your address information for the agent, and then you also have features that you can go ahead and add for this agent. Financial information, you can have different situations set up for different situations for that the agent might be in. I'll select situation 01. You can see that we have their annualization information, tax information, vesting information, holding information, their compensation information, and then the commission hierarchies that they're associated with. Licensing information. So right now we have our license list. I'll select the entry that's there. You have dates, license information, mailing information, expiry information, the types of products that they're licensed for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add a new license. So if I click the new button, as you can see, we get a new license tab. I'm going to go ahead and add a new license state. And for now, that's all I'm going to do. If I go back to the license list, you can see now that we have two different licenses for that same situation. And if I go back to the summary tab, you can now see that I have all states and Alaska. If I go back to the license tab, just to show what I was talking about earlier, I'm going to go down to the product types, and I'm going to select just life insurance for this one. Now if I go back to the summary, you can see that all states is highlighted, so the product type has the product types that that license was for. And if I click on Alaska, you can see that the only one is highlighted is the life insurance. So you can easily see from all the licenses listed on the license tab on the summary screen what states they're licensed for, when the start date was, when it expires, and what type of products that they're licensed for. And then we have the control tab, and that's the same type of stuff. It has dates that control statement processing for the agent, reporting information for the state, the frequency of when they're supposed to get paid, and then there's also attached features and available features that you can also add for this agent. A little bit more information for the agent. I'm going to go ahead and show you the commission statement for this agent. So we'll pull that up. We have our statement summary. You can see what the current statement totals are, the year-to-date totals. I can go to commission summary. It shows me that this agent has been paid on bonus commissions, first year commissions, and renewal commissions. It shows me that amounts that they've been paid, and then I can also look at the policy detail, and what this will show me is everything that's been paid out for bonus by policy number, and it summarizes each one. It has the first year by policy and summarized by the first year, and then the renewal by policy and by the renewal summarized. Also on this agent, if we wanted to go directly to any policy that this agent is on, we can do policy information, and that'll bring us up to the policy information screen, and it's listed every policy that this agent is related to. So I can double click on the policy and it'll pull up the policy notebook for me. Also in the agent tab, we can do the commissions by policy. I'll put in the policy number. And on this, you can see that not only, since it's for the policy, this will show you both the writing agent and the office agent that was on the policy that we looked at earlier, the accounting date and the transaction code, and then it breaks it down by, so we have the writing agent was paid one rate for the first year, another rate for the bonus. And you can see that we also have the renewal commissions paid later on. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the policy. I'll go ahead and I'll access that via the policy information. So go ahead and I'll select the policy we were looking at before, and then on this policy I'll show you a little bit more information that you can obtain from the policy notebook in relation to what's happened with the policy. First thing is accounting history. We go to the accounting history, and you can see on here that we have some transaction codes that are no-op. What those are policy master saves in time. So this first one is always the issue copy of the policy. If I go ahead and select that, we can see that there's multiple tabs that are listed across the top of the screen. And this shows the information on that policy at the time of issue. And so each one is different information that's contained on that specific policy. If I close out of the policy save and then I come back in the transaction codes, if I select one of the premium payments and select that entry, it's going to go ahead and pull up the accounting history detail transaction. And so you can see the full detail information of the accounting transaction that took place that's listed on accounting history. Also under the accounting, I can go ahead and pull up the accounting extract for the policy, and we don't have the nightly jobs that would run that would normally delete this information. So this is actually going to show all of the information for this policy for the accounting from the issue date through current. And so you can see on here that we have premium payments for January 1st, 2010. Then on January 1st, 2011, these couple of transactions, that's actually dividends for paid up additions. Then the following year's premium of January 1st, 2011, you can see the accounting for that. And then we have annual dividends and paid up additions on January 1st, 2012. The premium for January 1st, 2012. You can see it continues on for January 1st, 2013 and January 1st, 2014. I can also show you that same accounting that's taken place if I go down to the statement. And what this is going to show us is an online statement of what's occurred for this policy over the life of it. So this has gone up and pulled up the statement for us, but what it does is it figures that, okay, normally you might want to run an annual statement, so it automatically defaults the date. So it only defaults the date back to the beginning of the last anniversary. So I'm going to go ahead and change the start date back to the issue date of the policy, and it's going to go ahead right now and redo all of the processing that has taken place from January 1st of 2010 through December 18th of 2014. So that's why it'll take a little bit of time for this transaction to run, because it is truly reprocessing everything that's taken place. So now that has gone ahead and finished. We can see our beginning values are zeros. Our ending values are what the system thinks the values are, and we have a beginning of 0 and an ending of 200,000. Our investment information shows us the cash value totals, and we also have our paid up addition value. Policy activity, you can see that what shows on here is our required premiums and then the annual dividends for paid up additions to the contract. I can also closed out the whole policy, so I'll go ahead and reopen that. On this, I can go ahead and go to values. And so what this is going to do is it will quote the current values of this contract as of today. So that concludes the rest of the information that I wanted to show you on the policy notebook. And if you have any questions, you can contact myself, Tim Green. My email is timgreen@lidp.com. And for more information, you can also visit our website, lidp.com. And maybe that will answer some of the further questions that you have. Thank you.